the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, Season 4. Let's go, baby. Yeah. There was a time I had trouble talking about it. Congratulate them, we know they doubted. Somehow we made it up out the pit, back against the wall, never quit. Traversing through each obstacle, show a non-believer what's possible. Let nothing they could do stand in between me and my wildest dreams. Let's go. Nothing that come at us could come in between. Life gave me the worst, yet my side grew so green. We've been down in the dirt, been tossed in the trash, but I never strayed from my path. When we're gone, we ain't looking back.
Maybe we were all way too high. Maybe that's our fault.
It's going to be a crazy time, but it's going to be a fun time.
Life is boring if you don't take some chances and do some things outside of the box.
Your destination for both some feel-good lifestyle advice and some fantasy football advice.
All right. It is a feel-good Black Friday, November 25th. This is the late night version of the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast. From our IBT family to yours, we hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving and a good Black Friday morning as well. We got a big rest of the holiday weekend coming for you. Seth Woolcock back with you from the IBT Podcast, joined by one half of the Pole Vote clan, the ever-present, the ever-astounding Nate Pole Vote, the tight end collector. Nate, we have a lot going on right now in life, man. Holidays, Black Friday, Thanksgiving just wrapped up. How are you? How was your Thanksgiving? How are the vibes as we do this a little bit later tonight?
So it's funny, as we're introing this, it reminded me of the first time you and I went live, because we recorded our podcast, as we always did on Zoom with Tom, and the audio was off for some reason. And we went live, and it was just like this late night, chill vibe. And that's what I'm feeling tonight, man. We're just fresh off of Thanksgiving, full bellies. We probably all ate leftovers today. I know I did. And we got football this weekend. We had three great games yesterday. We have a full slate this weekend, no bye weeks. It's going to be a great weekend. I can't wait to talk about it.
So much great food yesterday. I hope you had a couple ice cold Busch Lights or whatever your drink of choice was yesterday, Nate, as well. I know I indulged myself from top to bottom. Before we give them the rundown, Nate, what was the best thing you either ate or drank yesterday?
So every year for the last 7 years, I have smoked a turkey on an old school charcoal Weber grill. Okay. It's my father-in-law's grill, and he kind of taught me the art. This year I nailed the turkey. It's the best turkey I've ever had.
Really? Okay.
I was blown away at how good it was. Yeah. I was impressed and proud. So there you go. It was the turkey this year.
All right. And, I've seen a lot of turkey slander this year, too. A lot of people have been coming out and saying they don't like turkey. Turkey's dry. We saw it last night after one of the games as well. And, Trash Sandwiches earlier today on the website, she released an article saying that she doesn't like turkey that much. So I'm glad to hear you put some respect back in turkey's name, my friend. Very happy to hear that. Nate, why don't you go and tell the IBT folks out there what they have coming on the show tonight?
Good friend of the show, JWB Fantasy Football founder Wyatt Berlatone is going to be on with us. To answer some start set questions. One of my favorite people, hung out with him at the expo. Great dude. Going to be a great addition to the show tonight. And then my dude, our dude, friend of IBT, Matt Ward. You know him as @PsychWard on Twitter.
Yes.
So excited to get his sleeper. He told me who it is, and I'm not going to spoil it, but I agree. I'm very excited.
Okay, man. Yeah, it's been an awesome doing this extra show with you all season long. Now we're doing a little bit late night, so we got some really cool guests that we can't normally secure during working hours. I'm excited to get into it, Nate. Looks like we have some of the IBT family back in with us tonight as well. Brad Bolt, I think it's Saturday for him over there in Australia.
It sure
Brad,
is.
We appreciate you, as always, our friend, tuning in.
Cheers, buddy.
We got Albert as well. Cheers to you, Albert. Good evening, our friend. And then Nate, looks like we're gonna have some familiar faces kind of coming and going throughout the show. So I'm really excited to talk to them, answer any questions we can for them. So if you guys have them, trade advice, start sit advice, let us know, and we'll get to those just in a little while. If you guys are new to the In Between family, welcome in. Thank you so much for making us a part of your busy Friday evening here. If you guys like this type of content, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, you know the rest. And Nate, I did want to kind of round this out by just saying we do have some merch up on the website right now, and we're going to have some new inventory coming in very soon. I'm working on some new designs that I'm really hyped up about it. So just want to say thank you. We released that first shirt last week, Nate, and we almost sold out within, minutes.
Well, it's because they're stupid comfortable and a really cool design. Jackson, in his quest to learn how to read, has been reading that shirt back to me every time I wear it. There we go. It not only is it a great shirt, but it'll teach your kids how to read.
There we go. Learning is what we do here at IBT in addition to our football talk. So let's start here with the Thursday night football games, Nate. And we had 3 of them. Bills, Lions, it headlined the day. And I came on to we have the Twitter spaces with Connor and Bo and Sven on Wednesdays. And Dave, I came on to and I said, guys, I think 10's a big line for the Lions. I think I'm going to ride the Lions. And it was taunting at times, but they covered as the underdogs, and it was a really cool game from the Lions. Jared Goff looked good at times, man. Jamal Williams continues to do what he does. However, at the end of it, it was missed field goals for the Detroit Lions that turned them off from a win. Bills get the victory, but Josh Allen hasn't really looked like himself lately. Nate, quickly, what do you think were your fantasy takeaways moving forward from this game?
This Detroit Lions team is for real. I really like their offense. I like what they're doing on offense. And I'm concerned about the injury to Josh Allen for the next probably 2 to 3 weeks until he gets fully right. But you're going to start him anyway. You have to. I think what I took away from this game is that Buffalo is struggling a little, like a good team struggle. But Detroit is they're coming on. Their defense has gotten better as the season has progressed. I think Dan Campbell is the real deal as a head coach for this team. And I think this isn't an offense you can sleep on. They're starting to kind of make a push to be relevant as we get towards the actual football playoffs, the actual NFL playoffs.
And I think the big thing about the Lions right now, as far as fantasy goes, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he kind of bounced back here. We haven't seen the explosive performance we saw earlier in the season with him. He's kind of back in action here. Jared Goff as a streamer, as a QB2 in some super flex leagues, he's serviceable at times. If he did this against the Bills defense, I'm all right with Jared Goff right now. He doesn't owe me anything after this one. And I think a lot of people are they're gonna want to bail on James Cook after this, because James Cook wasn't really utilized in the run game in this, but he did see a career high 5 targets. So I would advise, Nate, we talked about him earlier this week on the show. I'm advising we stay with James Cook here. However, if you can get out of DeAndre Swift after seeing this action, I am we've been saying it for weeks, Nate. We've been saying it for weeks. DeAndre Swift, it's time to get out of there. Time to sell while you can. And he really is the 2B in this, or the 2A, if you want to call it. And it's just been a poor performance from him all season long. He doesn't look like he belongs out there, especially when they get in the red zone.
Well, once they're inside the 20, it's Jamal Williams' backfield. And that's been the case since week 1. I love DeAndre Swift. He's a great talent, but he doesn't have that power back ability in the red zone for them to trust him. So he'll get an off touchdown here and there, but as long as Jamal Williams is there, and they're going to, if Jamal Williams leaves, they're going to bring in another back that's going to fill that inside the 20 role. Love his talent. Maybe we'll see some Aaron Jones passing usage next season, but that's not in the cards this year for him. It's too bad, because we all had really high hopes for Swift.
I think putting a cap on this game, all I'll say is you did mention Josh Allen continues to struggle a little bit, but he waltzes into 30 fantasy points in most formats here. So you got to keep rolling him out there. Got to keep believing. 12 points on the last drive for him as well. He was electric there. So keep having the faith. I think better days are ahead for Josh Allen. As far as DeAndre Swift, not so much. Nate, quickly, we'll talk about this Giants and Cowboys game. Frustrating game for gamblers who are riding the Cowboys right at the end. A missed Brett Maher field goal leads to a Giants Richie James touchdown. I was riding the Giants, so I was happy about it. I was happy that was one of the backwards way to win a bet this season, but I was happy about it. Nate, what was your fantasy takeaways in this one? To me, it was Saquon Barkley continues to not really be what he was earlier in the season, kind of descending a little bit, while Zeke, maybe the best game from Zeke we've seen in 2-3 years.
Yeah. So my takeaway was this is a buy low on Saquon opportunity for managers who are freaking out about his lack of production in the last 2 weeks. And it's a sell high opportunity on Zeke for anyone who is impressed by what he's done, because none of this is sustainable. Saquon Barkley will get back to being Saquon Barkley. It's an inevitability. We see the talent. We know the talent. We know he's healthy. And with Zeke, he's been a recipient of really good opportunity the last couple of weeks. He's scoring touchdowns. You can start him probably most weeks, but he has to score. He's not doing anything else. Like, the yards aren't there. The touches aren't there.
I mean, 16 carries, Nate, 5.8 yards per carry in this last matchup. Like, I don't know. I think there is some staying power behind Zeke here. Like, the Cowboys are one of the best offenses in the league all of a sudden again with Dak back under center. So I don't know, man. I think there's a little more. I think you're discounting Zeke a little bit, honestly. Like, if you can sell him high, absolutely. But I don't want to sell him for pennies, what we were doing maybe a couple weeks ago.
Well, no. You're not selling him you're selling him high. If you can't sell him high, you're not selling him.
Tyron Smith is going to be back too, so that line's also going to get better. So I'd still rather have Pollard, but I mean, Zeke, man, he's still out there. He's ready to go. Quickly, let's just touch on the Giants here. We saw a little bit out of Darius Slayton. He had about 9 fantasy points. I think we can continue to ride him as a low-end flex, low-end wide receiver 3. Other than that, it's going to be tough to trust Daniel Jones unless it's in some of these like really, really good matchups, but he's still worth holding, I think, in 1 QB leagues.
I completely agree. He's worth holding. The Giants have to get back to using him as more of a rushing quarterback and less of don't ask Daniel Jones to pass too much. And they've gotten away from that the last 2 weeks. And that's to my Saquon point as well. I think they get back to running the ball next week, and that benefits Jones and Saquon.
Yeah, 35 attempts for Jones on the night. So not really what we wanted to see, I think, from a fantasy point of view. Moving forward here to the Patriots and Vikings game, Nate. This was an electric one, man. This was an electric one. And here comes Nate out on Twitter trolling Kirk Cousins before he even takes a snap. And Kirko Chains is back, baby. Really electric night from him. 299 yards, 30 of 37 for Kirk Cousins. Mac Jones, also the best we've seen Mac Jones this season by far. 382 yards for him on 28 for 39 through the air. Really good day. 2 touchdowns for him. And that was despite losing Jacoby Myers towards the beginning of this game. Myers did come back, but wasn't overall effective later down the stretch. Nate, what was your fantasy takeaways from this one?
Mac Jones looked comfortable for the first time all season. I felt like the line was protecting him a little bit better. He wasn't under as much pressure. Kirk Cousins balled out, which I was glad to see. I was expecting primetime Kirk.
Yeah.
But we didn't get primetime Kirk. We got, 1 p.m. slate on a Sunday Kirk, which is good Kirk Cousins. So maybe he's turned a corner in that aspect. Maybe that's going to shake him less as the season goes on because he's on a much better team. I was impressed. Justin Jefferson is on a Hall of Fame route. I mean, can we just talk about that? This dude is unreal. Unreal.
I think other than Randy Moss, he's the best wide receiver I've ever watched in football.
He has more receiving yards at the same point in his career than Randy Moss, both Minnesota guys. I'm going to tell you what impresses me about Justin Jefferson, and this is why he is the wide receiver 1 in Dynasty moving forward. He can do anything. He's fast. He's a stellar route runner, but he doesn't need separation to make a catch. It doesn't matter how contested it is. He will find a way. The way that he tracks the ball is unreal. I think Jerry Rice, maybe we can make a Jerry Rice ball tracking comparison because Jerry Rice always found the ball the way that Justin Jefferson always finds the ball.
Yeah, it was electric performance from him. I'm happy to see it once again. Quickly, I just want to kind of put the nail in the coffin here. Also, Ramondre Stevenson is that guy. He could be a top 5 running back rest of season, depending on the Damian Harris injury. And like, he needs to be in the fantasy MVP talk. I think, honestly, he's not getting enough love. Over 20 PPR points in 6 out of his 11 games this season. Hasn't been under 14 PPR points since week 2. Like, he's been stellar, man.
You're talking about, okay, this is Roger Stevenson was my first rookie profile I did for In Between.
I remember
In-between show.
Yeah, you did love him.
I watched film on him at Oklahoma, and the dude does everything well. And it took a season and a half for him to get to the point where he can do everything well at the NFL level, but he's doing everything well. He's a good route runner. He runs the ball well between the tackles and outside. He catches the ball. He scores. What more do you want out of a running back?
I just didn't know he was this good of a receiving running back. Like, coming out of college, he doesn't profile as that. He didn't profile that as that to me. He's kind of a little bit bigger of a back. I think he's 250. So I was surprised how good he is catching the ball. But guys, hold Ramondre Stevenson, ride him to your fantasy championships. Looks like we're getting a lot of returning faces in the chat, a lot of new faces in the chat asking a lot of questions for us. So Nate, let's go ahead and jump into those with our next segment. We got an awesome guest coming in for matchup management.
Who you got?
Matchup management.
Who's it gonna be?
All right, who's it going to be? We're going to tell you that right now in matchup management. And to do that, we're going to bring in the co-creator of JWB Fantasy Football, a contributor for DLF, and just honestly, guys, a hilarious human being and one of the best Twitter follows out there. Guys, give it up for Wyatt from JWB Fantasy Football. What's up,
man,
Wyatt?
You're gonna make me blush right off the bat with that intro. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. How are you doing today? Day after Thanksgiving, maybe no work for you. How are the vibes?
The vibes are pretty good. This morning was a little bit rough, went a little hard for Thanksgiving, I would say, but now it's Christmas season in the house. You can see the tree behind me, one of the trees in the house behind me. But yeah, I'm ready to rock and roll.
Awesome, man. No, I feel that. I did not feel that great waking up today as well. Nate, did you hit the sauce a little bit last night?
I hit the something last night. I was very tired this morning when Jackson came into our room at 7 a.m. So
there we go. Looks like we have Toronto Dave in the chat saying IBT is on a Hall of Fame route. We appreciate that, Dave, as always. We got Mike saying the porn bot showing up for Wyatt. Yeah, they did. As soon as Wyatt came in, we got a load of them. So yeah,
I can't bat them away fast enough.
They follow you. They know when you're on YouTube. Shout out Wyatt here from Dave. Let's get into some questions here, Wyatt. We got a busy week 12. I want to start with this first one here from our guy Albert. He's asking Geno Smith or Kyler Murray. I think Geno Smith is going to be excellent this week. One of my quarterback starts of the week. How do you feel about him or Kyler Murray coming back from injury here, Wyatt?
Yeah, I agree, Geno. Been playing well enough that I think if you have him as an option, that you just don't have to worry about taking the risk with Kyler and him coming back for the injury. I think there's a real good chance that Kyler is not running at all when he comes back because of the injury. And if that's the case, that really hurts his fantasy outlook, right? And look, Geno Smith is the dude. I think people are still adjusting to the fact that Geno Smith is a QB1 and has been and will be. That's just he's my QB9 for the week. It's pretty easy. I would just stick with Geno.
Okay. Nate, are you also rolling with Geno Smith right now? I mean, just the most accurate quarterback in the league, and it's not even close. And I know earlier we were thinking that he wasn't that good under pressure, but he still has the #1 accuracy rating among quarterbacks, whether he's under pressure or not under pressure. So that gives me all the confidence in the world here against the Raiders.
What you just said right there, they're playing the Raiders. And I would take Geno Smith versus the Raiders over Russell Wilson versus the Raiders, which is a massive change in where we all thought we would be coming into week 1 with Geno Smith starting in Seattle. But he has been nothing short of phenomenal with that offense. He's using the weapons effectively. They're a good team. You start Geno Smith. Kyler Murray, like Wyatt said, coming off injury, he's probably not going to be rushing. That's the majority of his upside in fantasy. So you've got to go Geno Smith this week.
Yeah, we called that Russell trap game last week too. Everyone wanted to roll out Russell against the Raiders, so I was glad we were on top of that one there, Nate. They have a bit of better defense as of late, the Raiders, but I still don't think they're a match for Geno Smith. Here we got Jeff Johnson in the chat. I think that's a new face. Who should Jeff Johnson be flexing tonight? Palmer, Hollywood, or Rashad White?
Well,
Man.
Hollywood's not playing. So
Has he been rolled out already?
he was ruled out like on Tuesday, I think, from what I remember.
I need some confirmation on that. Wyatt, how do you feel about here? Because I don't think I want to roll out Hollywood anyway around it.
Yeah, I would definitely not be playing Hollywood. Although I think I did see a report like not that long before now saying that he might activate it off.
Oh,
with the
really?
intention of him being able to, yeah, which is wild. I don't see why they're rushing him back.
Right.
I don't think they need to. But this is pretty easy, just Rashad White for me. With the assumption that Leonard Fournette will not be playing, he's doubtful now. It's trending towards that. But the Browns are a fantastic matchup for running backs. They're 29th in adjusted fantasy points allowed to the running back position. Rashad White should see the majority of the workload there for the Buccaneers. And granted, the Buccaneers haven't been able to run the ball well, just in general, all year. But it doesn't really matter when you get the amount of opportunities someone like Rashad White will for that offense. And when you include the matchup, it's just easy. Like Rashad White's fringe RB1 for me heading into the week. So it's a pretty easy decision.
Yeah, I'm with you on Rashad White. He was actually my running back start of the week. And it's because of the Browns, man. The Browns have been the number one option to play running backs against since week 2. They've allowed more points than anyone. So keep pounding the ground for anyone playing the Browns, and that includes Rashad White this week. Great question there, Jeff. We appreciate you making us part of your Friday, man. Hope you come back and subscribe to the channel, hang out with us again. Here we got sober thoughts, Kyler or Fields. Okay. Nate, how are you feeling about Kyler or Fields here? Kyler Murray, like we said, we're not really into playing him this week if we don't have to, but Justin Fields also a little bit banged up.
I'm in the same camp with both of these guys. If you don't have to start them, I would pivot somewhere else. The Fields injury is concerning. I mean, it wasn't a complete dislocation, but it was a separation, and it's painful. I think this is a situation where neither one of these guys are going to be running much. So who has the bigger passing upside? Who has the better weapons? It's probably Kyler Murray.
And we had Robert Saleh actually coming out and saying that if Justin Fields is out there, he needs to be prepared to get hit. So with that being said, Wyatt, how do you feel about Justin Fields or Kyler Murray?
Yeah, Nate nailed it for me. One of those players has success with only his arm, and it's not Justin Fields so far. So it's a pretty easy decision because, especially with, I think Justin Fields' injury is a little bit more severe in the way that if he runs and gets hit, like he could easily get knocked out of the game. Yeah. So I really don't think he's going to try to run, and I don't think they would call as many design runs for him. Like that would just be like coaching malpractice if he plays. So yeah, pretty easy, just Kyler. But like Nate said, I don't really want to play either of them at this point. Like I would maybe check the wire, see who's there, and maybe you can find an option that you like a little bit more, like maybe Brady against Cleveland, or maybe Derek Carr against Seattle, are both fine.
John Wolford.
Yeah, like in one QB leagues, like I could see how like Brady or Carr might actually be available on the wire. Maybe not. Maybe Trevor Lawrence. He's one who actually might be available against Baltimore. If you just don't want to take the risk with those guys getting re-injured in game.
Yep. I love that analysis there, guys. We have another one here from Jeff. He's saying that he recently traded Schultz and Geno for Lamar last week. Is that a good move? He also has Travis Kelce. I'm going to be honest, guys. Like, I'm not really hot on Lamar right now. And I haven't been. Like, we saw the early explosion this season, but I think without Rashad Bateman, he's a little bit limited in weapons. Wyatt, how do you feel about Lamar Jackson moving forward, especially after giving up Geno, who we've kind of already been gloating about all episode?
I do think it's an upgrade, and we could debate how much of an upgrade it actually is. And maybe the trade doesn't seem fair because he gave up Schultz in addition, who's doing well. But Schultz is essentially useless to him if he's playing Kelce every week. Like, he's never going to be starting Schultz.
Yeah.
So in a way, like, I don't mind the possible perceived overpay for the upgrade, even if it's a minor upgrade in someone's mind. Like, I still prefer Lamar Jackson to Geno pretty solidly rest of season, even if he's been a little bit disappointing lately. Just knowing who Lamar is, what he can do. He's done it with very little at the at receivers in the past. Like it's not going to surprise me if he's going for 30 every week the end of the season without Rashad Bateman. So I'm good with it.
Okay. Nate, how do you feel about this? Lamar Jackson coming up for him. He's got the Jaguars, Broncos, Steelers, Browns, Falcons, ends with the Steelers and Baltimore. Is that a schedule that scares you enough to not want to make this move for him?
Yeah, I think I'm with Wyatt. It's a minor upgrade, but it's worth it because you're not playing Schultz if you have Kelsey. And while Schultz 2-touchdown game was cool, how often is he going to do that rest of the season? Probably not. That was a really cool outlier. And if you had him rostered and you started him, but moving forward, you want Lamar over Geno because there's a rushing upside with Lamar that you're not getting with Geno.
I'm fine with it. I just think he could have done a little bit better, especially after last night. Like, I know you probably did this before, but in Dak starts, Schultz has been a tight end 1 in 5 of 6 of those Dak starts. Like, Schultz has been really good. I know he was kind of useless, but I just think maybe you could have got a little bit more, but I don't hate the trade. It's not something that I think you should lose sleep over. Great question though, Jeff. And then we have here from Toronto, Dave, always with the Cole Kmet question. This one, I don't know if it's just to torment me or
it's to torment you,
or if he actually just has a lot of Cole.
Are you a Cole Kmet fan as well? Are you in this with me together?
No, Nate and you are like on the opposite spectrum.
Okay.
Seth is our enemy when it comes to Cole Kmet, Wyatt.
Okay, good to know. I needed to know that, Seth.
Yeah, no, I've been attacked by his truthers on Twitter. His mom has liked our Instagram post, but won't accept our follow requests. Like it's just bullshit. I'm over the Kmet, man. They've all burned us. I'm moving forward. In this case, though, I will take Cole Kmet. I can't trust Taysom Hill, man. Taysom Hill is like, he was a cool story, but I wasted some fab on him. I'm not gonna lie. I thought maybe it was sustainable. Wyatt, any thoughts here on Kmet or Taysom Hill?
Definitely Kmet for me. Taysom Hill, like if you are like a heavy underdog to your opponent and you're like just want to swing for the fences, sure, start Taysom Hill in the event that he runs in 3 touchdowns because that will happen a couple of times a year. But I was saying earlier in the year, like the Taysom Hill, it's not actually that hard to figure out. If the Saints are missing 2 to 3 of their offensive weapons, you can play Taysom Hill because they have to involve him more.
Yeah. Yep.
But when they're only missing Michael Thomas, like they have options in their offense. They don't have to use him that much. So yeah, that's a home run swing if you have to, but not one that I'm going to normally take.
Yep, I'm completely there. Nate, I imagine you're also playing Kmet.
You know me well, Seth.
I hope this was a real question. We didn't just spend 2 minutes talking about it for Dave trolling us, but we appreciate it nonetheless, brother. Here we have Tootsie Pop, Rachel. Hey, good to see you, Rachel. Appreciate the kind shout out on Twitter earlier today. That meant a lot to me for Follow Friday there. Hi, which one to start? Garrett Wilson, DeAndre Carter, Brandon Cooks. Can we trust Garrett Wilson here with Mike White, boys? That's like, I think what the question is, because I think you look at these players, one has a ton of upside this week, and it's Garrett Wilson, as he does every week, but we also know what the floor is as well. Nate, how balls are you feeling here?
So if you had asked me at like 4:30 Mountain Standard Time, which is 6:30 for all you East Coast people, I would have told you absolutely no way I'm playing Garrett Wilson this week with Mike White. I don't trust it. It feels like a trap game. But then I did my player profiler show with Jack Kavanaugh, and he talked me into Garrett Wilson being a safety valve for Mike White that he didn't have last season, and I get it. So I'm all on Garrett Wilson this week.
Okay. Wyatt, how do you feel about it? Brandon Cooks, I mean, he's been solid since he's been back from his whatever that absence was, but he hasn't been electric all season long like we thought he might be.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson for me. Brandon Cooks has actually been like worse than Nico Collins in almost every game. I think he's like becoming the wide receiver 2 for the team, and they're going to start to rely on Nico Collins more. DeAndre Carter doesn't really enter the conversation for me. And Garrett Wilson, I mean, like you said, Seth, he's got like the most potential of all the people here. We've seen it before against my Browns when he was with Joe Flacco, had the best game of his season. So we know that type of game is in him, the over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Zach Wilson is like the worst quarterback in the league. So, it doesn't really matter what you think about Mike White. Mike White is an improvement for this offense. He's not going to do anything special, right? Mike White. But what he does is he just takes the easy completions. He just runs the play, which is what we need for the offense. Zach Wilson can't just make the easy passes. He's overthrowing a wide open player in the flat. Like, we can't, like, this is an improvement. It doesn't matter what you think, Mike White. This is good for everybody in that offense.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens. I'm a big Jet believer, big Jets fan. Been so since about July. So longtime Jets fan. And I'm curious to see what happens here, boys. Love that question there from Rachel. Yeah, I'm definitely going Garrett Wilson here, Jets bias aside. And then we have Sober Thoughts back in the chat here. That's a great name, by the way. I like the YouTube name there. Very clever. He has P. Ryan, Gus Edwards, or Drake. Battle the backup running backs here, guys. Start one. He said he can either do this or other option is he can trade Chase for ETN. He also has Jalen Waddle, AJ Brown, Ayuk, Christian Watson, and Chase. So he needs help at RB. So how do you guys feel about this? Should he make this trade and get ETN, or should he play one of these backup running backs? Wyatt, kind of a two-part question here. How do you feel about it from Sober Thoughts?
I kind of like the trade. I'm assuming if that's even on the table for you, that you need a running back. Like, it's not just just changing position. It's like, I need to find somebody that can play every week. And I do have some concern of what Jamar Chase will be rest of season. I do think this seems like a little bit early for him to be coming back. The rumor is he might play this week, which I wasn't expecting that. So yeah, I think ETN is top 8 running back rest of the season, has been since the James Robinson trade, really even before the James Robinson trade, because he was starting to take over the backfield anyways. Right. So I think that's actually my favorite. Especially, when you have Waddle, AJ Brown, Brandon Ayuk, Christian Watson, you're fine at wide receiver. Though, I guess maybe the only thing I have to wonder about is if this is a start 3 wide receiver and a flex league, where that leaves him. But I think I just like doing the trade and starting ETN.
I mean, I do too, man. Like, Brandon Ayuk is a borderline wide receiver 1 at this point. He's been excellent. You have Jalen Waddle, who is a wide receiver 1. AJ Brown, who is a wide receiver 1. I don't really think you need to take the chance with Jamar Chase and his health coming back. So, yeah, I'd absolutely make this trade, get Christian Watson into your lineup then. Nate, how do you feel about it? Because P. Ryan and Drake, if Gus does not go, also, I mean, they're decent plays as well. They're RB2s. You're muted as well, Nate.
That's true, I am. So here's where I'm at with this. Your running backs are Samaje Perine, who is dependent on Joe Mixon not playing, Gus Edwards, and Kenyon Drake, which you're like, which one is going to be the one this week? So you make this trade because you're loaded at wide receiver with Waddle, Brown, Ayuk, Christian Watson. You can afford to lose Jamar Chase, even if it's a 3 wide receiver and a flex spot. You have to upgrade at running back, because you have to start running backs. And you don't know, it's a toss-up between Edwards and Drake every week. You've got to make this move for Etienne, who you can reliably start every week.
I think what it comes down to, and Nate, I think you summed it up very well there, like the gap between Etienne weekly and one of these other running back 2s that you have is a lot more at this point in the season than Chase is to Christian Watson. Like that's just the truth and what the output is. Chase is a way better player, but Watson can also have some boom games. So yeah, I love this question. This is a really complex question, but I think your guys' analysis sums this up well, and we're making that trade to get ETN for Chase. Absolutely. All right, here we have another one. And he did say his RBs right now are Swift and Stevenson. So yeah, I would love to have, because you don't want to start Swift. You really don't want to be starting Swift at this point. So
as you guys were saying before I jumped on, which I completely agree with. You kind of have to get off. He's a flex player, maybe for you right now.
Yep. Stevenson and ETN, like those are 2 RB1s rest of season. So lock that down right now, because that gives you a clear advantage over a lot of teams. Here we have a question from Jeff. What do you guys think about Justin Fields in real life? So let's separate fantasy football first section. Nate, I don't need to hear what you think about Justin Fields. No. You've always loved Justin Fields. I know that. Wyatt, I would love to get your perspective on Fields. I was honestly someone who, at least coming into this year, I did not expect this leap that we've been seeing from him, especially in the ground game. He only ever had 600 yards, was his best rushing year at Ohio State. Obviously, that's a factor of the system, is what I'm learning. But how do you feel about Justin Fields with all that said, Wyatt?
I'm a fan, big fan. Fantasy wise, luckily I stayed in and stayed true to Justin Fields. But in real life, I mean, I don't, you only get to learn so much, but from the reports that we see and the videos that we see, he looks like a really stand-up, accountable guy,
Yes.
and a leader. So I like him. Like he's taking the blame for things that he doesn't need to take the blame for, in like when they lose the game, and he's putting it all out on the field, doing everything he can. I like him. I think he's a great leader. He's really accountable. I don't know what else you can ask for out of your quarterback.
And he's doing it with not great weapons. Like, let's keep that in mind as well. The offensive line is patchwork at best at this point. And Darnell Mooney, fine receiver. Chase Claypool, fine receiver. But they're not elite receivers by any means. You can say what you want about Cole Kmet. I think he's just like an average guy. I really just think he's a jag. Like he's a bet. Maybe he's better than a jag, but like I still don't think he's that great. Nate, how do you feel about Justin Fields? With what Wyatt said, taking that into account.
Well, what Wyatt said is spot on. He's a leader, and that's what you want in a quarterback. We've seen some Jets fans over the last 3 or 4 days respond to, see, your team why didn't you take Justin Fields? Your organization's making mistakes all over the place, drafting.
Yeah.
And
that'd be electric.
And they're trashing Justin Fields, saying, well, Zach Wilson's still a better quarterback. This is crap. Justin Fields is a leader of men, and that's what it takes to lead a football team. It's not just football. It's in any aspect of life. If you want to be a leader and you are put in a position of leadership, you have to be able to do it. Justin Fields can do it. Zach Wilson cannot. Zach Wilson cowered under pressure, and when things went wrong, he blamed everyone else around him. Justin Fields took responsibility that wasn't even on him.
Damn.
This is a man who is going to be successful in the NFL because he wants it and because he is willing to go out on a limb for his teammates because he wants to win. And that's the difference between Zach Wilson, Josh Rosen, Justin Fields, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Justin Fields has it. He has that leadership it. And that makes a difference, man. Think about
true.
Joe Montana. Joe Montana is probably one of the least physically gifted quarterbacks to ever play in the NFL. But that dude won Super Bowls because he knew how to lead a team. Just saying.
Hey, all I'm going to say is we've been doing this podcast for maybe about 60 or 70 episodes together out of the 100 or so episodes that has been this podcast. That was the best promo you ever cut. I swear to God. Like that got you riled up. So I appreciate that question, Jeff. Nate, I'm going to cut that promo later. Good work on that, Nate. I like what you guys said. Like, I didn't know who Justin Fields was. I'm also a Penn State fan, so I don't like Ohio State. I don't like what happened to the Bears last year. I'm kind of a Matt Nagy truther as well. So it's all kind of gone against
Seth, what is wrong with you?
Right? I didn't know that he was a Matt Nagy truther before I agreed to do the show this year.
I was hot on Matt Nagy in 2018 when he first came to the Bears. So
okay, that's fine.
So that's they were lit that year. Tariq Cohen was my dog. I rode that wave. Yeah, I was that guy. But no, that was a great question, Jeff. I love seeing Nate's analysis and Wyatt's analysis on that. He's also saying, nah, don't disrespect Cole Kmet like that. Hey, I got to do it.
Thank you, Jeff.
Jeff, I appreciate it, man. We got to get Jeff back into some more of these chats. He's electric with some of these good questions here. Keep the questions coming, guys. We'll answer one more here with Wyatt before we bring on our next guest. Let's see. We got Toronto Dave here. PPR. He's always also asking about DJ Moore. I swear to God, it's the players I hate. DJ Moore, Josh Palmer.
You hate Dave, DJ Moore too, Seth?
Who doesn't hate
Why are
DJ
we friends?
Yeah. All I'm going to say, DJ Moore, my wide receiver sit of the week in yesterday's column, Dave. So Patrick Surtain, that's who he's going up against here. Yeah, Devontae Adams kind of roasted him on 2 big plays last week. But Sam Darnold's back at quarterback. I don't think a revolving door is good for wide receivers. I said that earlier this season. So I'm completely out on DJ Moore here. No questions asked. Wyatt, how do you feel about it?
I have them back-to-back in our rankings with Palmer ahead. I don't really want to play either of them. But it's
Palmer's
Josh
been
Palmer.
Electric. Why is everyone discounting Palmer, though?
That's the thing, too. I'm way in on Palmer this year. But so I don't know, but it's it's tough to want to rely on him when Keenan Allen is back because Keenan Allen is such a target hog, and Austin Eckler already is. Like the 50-yard touchdown from Palmer last week, like that is not a common occurrence for him. He does not work downfield a lot. Maybe they're going to do that more with Mike Williams out. Like he is kind of just like the de facto backup for whoever's out, and he just kind of like plays their role. But he's not really a downfield wide receiver. Like that's why I like it. Like I don't want to get too excited about it. I think he's good when there's an injury and he can like rely on some volume. But when Keenan Allen's there, like it just worries me. But all that said, like I'd still play more DJ Moore because the Panthers offense is hot garbage. And we've got Sam Darnold in there who, again, like same when we were talking about like Mike White, like he's terrible, but he's an improvement over what was there. Like
is he though? Like they're all like I think
so. I think Baker Mayfield might be worse than Zach Wilson. That's like the most damning thing I can say.
Hey,
about
now,
Baker Mayfield.
hold on.
This coming from a Browns fan who was a Baker Mayfield defender for so long, but looking like I can't. Baker Mayfield's so bad. At least, especially when it comes to like getting DJ Moore fancy points. Like he can't do that for whatever reason. Sam Darnold at least like got DJ Moore to be a respectable fantasy option.
Right.
Like, he's part of the reason why we like DJ Moore year in and year out. Was quarterbacks like Sam Darnold who just said, "I'll just screw it. I'll just throw it to DJ Moore a bunch."
Hey, no, I totally get it. Are you from Ohio? Are you an Ohio fuck as well, Wyatt?
Yep. I am from Ohio.
What part of Ohio are we working with?
Northeast Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good part. You're close to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, not very far.
There we go. And Dave's also saying Palmer is from the Toronto area, FYF. So roll with your guy, man. Yeah, roll with your guy here. Nate, any disagreeing thoughts here with playing DJ Moore over Josh Palmer at this point?
So I just want to throw this stat line out real quick. This was the first 4 weeks of last season with Sam Darnold starting at quarterback in Carolina. These were DJ Moore's fantasy outputs.
Drink it in, Seth.
15.4, 21.9, 20.5, 31.9 in Dallas against the Cowboys.
Yeah, and that was probably with Matt Rule, head coach. Joe Brady might have still been. I don't know if Joe Brady was OC then, but
that's worse.
Right? No, Steve Wilkes is a better coach than anything this team has had.
I agree.
Dude, Matt Rule's not that bad. I'm not going to defend Matt Rule.
Are you serious? Okay.
I'm not trying to defend Matt Rule.
Rule was a good college coach.
He went to
He
Penn
was
State.
6-20.
Oh no, this is homerism.
Sorry about it.
No.
Sorry about it.
I'm just saying, don't discount DJ Moore.
So are you playing DJ Moore here? Dave needs
over
an
Josh
answer.
Palmer. I probably will start DJ Moore over Josh Palmer this week.
All right. Well, I'm going Josh Palmer. It's 2-for-1 in Palmer's favor. If DJ Moore happens to go off, you can blame Wyatt and I, Dave. But I think Nate's analysis is dog shit. I'm gonna. I hate DJ Moore.
I know it's fun.
Well, Wyatt, this has been a blast, man. It got rowdy here. I apologize. Nate's bullshit analysis can get me going sometimes, but
I don't know. I think your homerism is the problem here.
Yeah,
hey, it might be, man. It might be. Wyatt, before you go, man, tell us a little bit about JWB football, if you would, and how we can best support you and the overall entity throughout the remainder of this season and into next season as well, my friend.
Yeah, so JWB Fantasy Football is basically a collection of my best friend who I started the company with, and then some of the best people that I've met on Twitter who've become like family to me, and we put out content of all kind for all different formats, scoring, everything. You can find us at jwbfantasyfootball.com. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, JWB Fantasy Football. We're on Twitter, JWB_FF. We have 5 shows coming out every week. So there's a little bit of something for everybody. Dynasty, redraft,
there we go.
DFS, a little bit of everything. So come hang out, join us, get in our Discord. You can find the link everywhere. Awesome. And thank you for having me on. This was a lot of fun. Big fan of the In Between Media team. I don't think that's any surprise. I love the entire team you guys have.
Thank you, man. Thank you. No, we're big fans of your guys' work over there as well. You guys are great human beings as well, which, just makes it all that much more exciting and fun to follow your guys' content. So good luck to you, man. Have a great rest of your fantasy football season. Thanks so much for blessing us with your time tonight, Wyatt.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, Nate. All right, we're past the bullshit analysis of DJ
You
Moore.
stop it.
I'm
Just
just
wait.
kidding.
Just wait until I'm right. Just
you
wait
know-
until I'm right.
No, you will be. I'll be wearing egg on my face come Monday, probably. Appreciate Wyatt, though, man. That was a blast having him on. Let's go ahead and jump into our Sure Thing Sleepers of the Week, though, and get this party started once again.
It's the Sure Thing. Sleepers of the Week.
All right, Sure Thing Sleepers of the Week. This is your thing. And to help us bring your thing to you, we're going to bring in the lead writer and director of content over at Broto Fantasy, also the content manager of DFF. And honestly, guys, this is just one of the most genuine people out there in this fantasy football industry. We had the pleasure of meeting up with him over the summer at the Fantasy Football Expo, and we just had some powerful, really chill conversations. So I'm excited to continue that here tonight on the IBT podcast. Let's go ahead and give it up for the one, the only, Mr. Matthew Ward. What's up, Matt?
Hey-o, how's it
Bro,
going?
that hat.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice you were wearing the shirt until you pulled it up. Yeah, I mean, Denver for life. Go Nuggets.
Damn straight.
Are you from Denver as well, Matt?
No, I'm just a huge Nuggets fan for no reason at all. I grew up in Canada, bro.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, thanks for being on the podcast tonight, man. I know it's your first time on here, so why don't you tell us and our listeners a little bit more about yourself and your work?
Oh, I mean, you kind of nailed it. You can find all my stuff, all my content on Twitter at Broto Fantasy, through DFF for some dynasty content. Yeah, I'm a chef day to day. That's probably the most unknown thing about me, I think,
Oh, yeah.
that people sleep on. So yeah, it just, happy to be here most of all. And I did want to say before I got too deep into it that Justin Fields speech had me wanting to run through a freaking wall, bro.
I agree.
Like I was
agree.
ready to go. I was sitting here watching you guys behind the scenes and I was just like amped up.
Let's go. Let's go. Wyatt in here saying he's a stan of Psych Ward. That's what we like to see. No, man, I'm glad to hear you're a chef too. I know we talked a little bit about this at the expo, but Nate's a former chef. I love to cook. I'm kind of a little chef of my own. And then we have Bo on the show a lot, who you know Bo. He cooks up a mean.
Phenomenal cook.
And then Cooking with Sven, like this is the home of Cooking with Sven. So we got to get you on sometime,
Well,
man.
and
We gotta
guys,
get you on.
Wyatt is a culinary aficionado as well.
Yes.
If you don't,
Yeah.
if you follow him on Twitter, you've seen some of the incredible meals he cooks.
Okay. Oh yeah, I have seen. Yeah,
This has been a cooking show.
Yeah, a little chef-tastic show today. Yeah, we
Damn
got to get
straight.
Wyatt and Matt on. That's what I'm talking about. Awesome, man. Awesome. Matt, how long you been playing fantasy football, man? And do you have a favorite team that you root for, or are you just more invested in your teams?
I mean, I'm a Saints fan. I'm a diehard Saints fan from like being 4 years old. My mom bought me a VHS tape called Thunder and Destruction that was showcasing the Dome Patrol with Patrick Swilling and Sam Mills. And yeah. But I'm not like the type of fan that other people are. Like, I don't get emotionally invested into how they're doing. I'm just like a huge fan of the Saints history and everything because of that one videotape when I was growing up, like legitimately. Right. So, a little more invested in my teams, which I've been playing fantasy football since I think it's like 13 years now.
There we go.
Yeah. Dynasty for 6.
Okay, nice, man. Well, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us. Before we jump into Sure Thing Sleepers, do you have some time for? I think we have a question here in the chat.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, we got. Hopefully, Charlie's still in the chat. It was from a little while ago. Half PPR, pick one: Juju, Palmer, or Christian Watson. Oh, this is a good one. We kind of just talked a little bit about Josh Palmer here, Matt. How do you feel about him going up against Juju coming back from the concussion and Christian Watson, who's been on an absolute burner as of late?
Yeah, I mean, well, Christian Watson's burner is absolutely unsustainable. There's no way he's going to continue to score multi-touchdowns in both games. And yeah, his target share is certainly up from what we were seeing earlier on in the season, but he's not somebody that I'm certainly like trusting in a set it and forget it situation. And the same can be said about those other two options, but for me, it's definitely leaning Juju. We saw him put up 3 wide receiver 1 weeks in a row before that concussion. And I believe, obviously you can be a little wary about players coming back from head injuries or any injury for that matter, but specifically head injuries. But I do believe that obviously with the extra week and the concussion protocol being a lot more stringent than it was ever, that you can have a little more confidence in his health and his ability to play. I certainly have him above both of those other options.
Okay. Nate, how do you feel about it? Juju, like we said, kind of coming back from that concussion. Matt's not really worried about that lingering into this week at all. Christian Watson, we said he's been on the burner, but he does have like the give or take matchup with the Eagles, which Darius Slay's been hit or miss like the last couple of weeks, but they still have some really good corners out there as well. So how do you feel about this one, Nate?
So to the head injury part, I'm a little bit more concerned than Matt is about that. And it's a thing I worry more about those head injuries. I've had a few of them. So
you panic, you fire some alarms, honestly, sometimes too much almost, even though Nate,
it's true. I do. And I'll cop to that. This is one that feels weird. And it's because of the arm response that Juju had. And it feels a little more serious than your average concussion to me. So if he's back this week, which it sounds like he's going to be, I'm curious to see how well he performs and if he's as with it as he normally is. But that said, Christian Watson, like Matt said, that production, is it sustainable? 5 touchdowns in 2 games. Like that's an unreal pace, obviously. Probably if Juju's starting, I'm probably leaning Juju here.
The way I look at this one, and I definitely agree with a lot of you guys' analysis, I think game script a little here, and I'm worried that the Chiefs could get up on the Rams, and the Rams, whether it's Bryce out there, whether it's John Wolford, maybe they can't claw in, and maybe we just see a lot of Pacheco, Jarrett McKinnon, some dump offs here. Like I'm worried that like I think Juju has the best floor out of these players, but at this point in the season, like I'm kind of looking for those boom weeks. I need those boom weeks at times. And I can just see the Packers getting down to the Eagles. The Eagles like to play from ahead. We know that number one in game script for the Eagles. They're always playing from ahead, most likely. Last week against the Colts was a different story, but most times they are ahead. So I worry that game script Christian Watson, he can catch a garbage time touchdown. So I'm going Watson here. I understand like if I need to play a floor play, it's Juju. But I'm going with the upside of Watson. But I think that's a really great question there from Charlie. Hope he hung around to hear that answer. But I really like that analysis, guys. All right. Here we got another question here from Patrick. Olave or Juju? Okay, another Juju question. Half PPR. What's up, Patrick? We appreciate you making us part of your busy Friday night, man. Matt, we're going to come right back to you, my friend. Olave or Juju? Perfect. Olave's been he was electric last week. It was kind of hit or miss the last couple weeks before that, but how do you feel about it?
I feel fine about Chris Olave in any given week. And I mean, you can point the homerism, but I did kind of segue all of this with saying that I'm not overly emotionally invested like other fans are. I honestly like Olave is a wide receiver 1 on any given week against any given matchup. He's beaten difficult matchups before. He's roasted the easiest matchups when he's supposed to. Yeah, he had some down production, but that obviously came with a just absolute tragic decline of Andy Dalton not being able to function as the starting quarterback. And they're still going to roll with Dalton. And he obviously looked a lot better last week. He's a hit or miss streamer as well. But yeah, I mean, nobody else has taken that target share away. From the moment that Chris Olave walked onto that field, he was the best receiver on that roster.
Absolutely. And we kind of saw the classic Michael Thomas fall off, and Jarvis hasn't been healthy all season, which kind of uncharacteristic of him as well. But yeah, Chris Olave has been electric, and I think I like him just like game script as well. Like the 49ers, they're probably going to score. The Saints defense is not what they used to be. I think the 49ers get up big in this one, and we see a lot of garbage time from Chris Olave.
I think that's a solid point, Seth.
Absolutely. Nate, are you also rolling Olave at that point then?
Yeah, I mean, obviously with the head injury concerns versus Olave, who has none. Yeah. And he's a phenomenal talent,
I mean, you would start Olave over Juju in a vacuum anyway at this point.
That's very completely healthy.
Point.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Great thoughts there, guys. Appreciate the question, Patrick. Hope you subscribe to the channel. Come back and hang out with us again. And we have Charlie just saying, love the analysis. Thanks, guys. Hey, we appreciate you, Charlie. Brother. We appreciate you, man. Who's that you said, Matt?
I said I'm glad he stuck around.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think you said that's my brother for a minute. I was like, oh, all right. Let's roll into
family here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's roll into some sure thing sleepers of the week, guys. we've been pretty hot as of late, honestly. Last week, though, I called out Drake London was mine. I was feeling really good after one drive that was going to come to fruition.
Me
That
too.
that was his only catch. One catch, 2 yards, 1 touchdown. So Drake London was not a sure thing sleeper of the week last week. Nate, I think you were Greg Dulcich, but you were just a little bit short as well. So let's try to get back on track here. Matt, we're going to put you up to tea here, man. Who is your
sweet.
Who is your first sure thing sleeper of the week for the IBT Media Podcast, my friend?
I mean, I don't think the magic's done yet. It hasn't looked good for the past couple weeks, but I'm still rolling with Taylor Heineke as a streamer sleeper.
Yes, sir.
And I'm a little behind the scenes. I remember Seth prefaced this with like somebody that you think can finish top 12. So I'll plant my flag right there and say I think Taylor Heineke is genuinely a top 12 quarterback this week. And obviously, a lot of that has to do with the team that he's playing, which is the Falcons. The Falcons are absolutely horrendous. Game script could probably be the most negative thing against Heineke, whereas you can run the ball so easily against this defense as well. But he just always seems to find a way into the fantasy football lexicon as a priority option during some sort of matchups. Like, yeah, he definitely sucks against the best defenses in the league as far as fantasy assets are concerned, can still squeak out some wins, but he's had 5 starts for the Commanders this season, 17.73 points per game in the first 3 games, and then played the Eagles and the Texans. And people are going to, get on me about the Texans not being good. The Texans are a really good defense, and they're the 30th ranked points over average defense to quarterbacks. So that's not just like, part of my process is not just points per game, but points over average, which is not if you allow 30 points to Patrick Mahomes and every other defense allows 30 points to Patrick Mahomes, that's whatever. But if you allow 35 points to Davis Mills and everybody else allows 10 points per game to Davis Mills, that's a worse defense. You know what I'm like? So
Certainly.
So points over average is a huge part of my process. And those 2 defenses are top 2 in the league, are the Texans and the Eagles to opposing quarterbacks. The Falcons are second. They just are a sieve of quarterback production. And Taylor Heineke has looked competent. He certainly hasn't looked great, but he has everything that you need in this matchup. It's against 2 opposing defenses that really struggle. So you can expect some fantasy production on both sides of the ball. Maybe not some passing production from the Falcons because you never know with Arthur Smith. But that secondary couldn't band together to stop a stiff breeze, let alone the production of an opposing quarterback.
I like riding this wave, Matt, because the Commanders have been hot, man, all the way around. And honestly, Heineke has a good set of weapons out there. Like Jahan Dotson's kind of getting back in form here. I'm excited to see what he can do, kind of finally getting back and turning it on here a little bit. Curtis Samuel, I think they need to use him a little bit more, but between him and Terry McLaurin, he's been locked on to Terry McLaurin. It's been fun to see. So I like riding this wave. Honestly, I considered him for my start of the week. I thought AJ Terrell was that guy for a minute. He's been in and out of the lineup this season, but the secondary for Atlanta just has not been what they were earlier in the season. So I'm all right with attacking this here. Top 12 is bold, but I like it. Nate, how do you feel about Matt's inaugural sure thing sleeper of the week?
Well, Matt knows how I feel about it. I said some expletives when we talked about this earlier because I am fucking excited about Taylor Heineke against Atlanta.
Go.
And let me tell you why. He doesn't care. He's not your typical NFL quarterback who's like, I'm trying to keep my job and get a contract.
100%.
Taylor Heineke is like, I cannot believe I am in the NFL starting a game. This still feels unreal to me. And he puts it all on the field every single week, which is why he's won 4 or 5 of his starts. He beat the Eagles. He beat the Packers. This is no joke. This guy is getting it done. It's not always pretty for fantasy, but against a shitty defense like Atlanta, he's going to put up points. He's going to hyper-target Terry McLaurin. I think this is a day we see Logan Thomas maybe actually be somewhat fantasy relevant for the first time this season.
Yep,
I think we see Antonio Gibson have a day. I think we see Brian Robinson have a day. I think we see Curtis Samuel have a day. I think this is a game where Washington kind of goes off because they're in the playoff hunt.
And what's the line on this game? What is the line? Does anyone know?
That is a good question. I don't know offhand, but I'd imagine it's close.
So Nate,
I think Washington's favored.
You think
funny funny you would ask. Yeah, the over-under is 40.5. Washington's favored
Ooh.
by 3.5 points.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think that's enough points. Last week I rode Washington. I think they were only favored 3 against the Texans or something. I said, wow, that was a crazy line. I thought rode Washington to a nice little victory in the betting column last week. So was happy to see that. But yeah, I like Washington, man. They're getting Chase Young back on defense too. And
Yes,
this
that's
defensive
huge.
line is fantastic. Their secondary might be cheeks, but I mean, that defensive line, man, is like up there with the 49ers, in my opinion, as probably a top 3 front 3 or 4.
Well, you get Chase Young back in there, and what he's going to do is he's going to add offensive snaps for Washington because he's going to shut down other teams. They're going to get more snaps with Chase Young on the field, more opportunity on offense.
All right, I love it, man. I love the call here from Matt. Nate, why don't you go ahead and take over for Sure Thing Sleepers of the Week? Those new to the show, Nate is the tight end collector, so I am sure Nate is going to add to his tight end collection with another one here. Take it away, my friend.
Now, I'm no Andrew Cooper, which if you don't know Andrew Cooper, go follow at Coop A Fiasco on Twitter. One of the best guys out there. He loves tight ends. I love tight ends. And I'm going to bring you a tight end this week that has bitten me in the past as a Broncos tight end, but now he's in Seattle. And he hasn't been used a ton this season. It's Noah Fant. But this matchup this weekend it's like cherry for Noah Fant. He's had 2 good weeks this season that were fantasy relevant, where he had 10 plus points. It was against Arizona. Arizona's terrible against tight ends. They're playing Las Vegas this week. Also terrible against tight ends. Like very bad against tight ends. So, okay, I'm going to throw out some stats here real quick. Vegas is out averaging 5 receptions and 50.3 receiving yards to tight ends. That's a built-in 10 points for Noah Fant this week, right?
Well, Disley too, though. You got to factor him in a little bit as well.
Disley hasn't been nearly the factor that Fant has the last 3 to 4 weeks. He's averaging 4.5 targets since week 5. So it's there. It's built in. But last week, Tyler Higbee had 8.7 fantasy points. Or not Tyler Higbee, I'm sorry. Harrison Bryant had 8.7 fantasy points. He was a tight end 12. So on expected volume alone for Noah Fant, he's a tight end 1 tier tight end.
Yeah.
I don't love it, but this is one of those situations where the tight end position is just such a mess. You're looking for the guy who has just plugged in volume, and that's going to be Noah Fant this week.
I think the only thing that holds me back just a little bit, and last week you put out Greg Dulcich, who was against this Raiders defense as well. Their linebackers and safeties are playing a little bit better against these tight ends. So that's my only.
But it was a divisional game. And it was Broncos Raiders and Josh McDaniel. I mean, we know his history with Denver. This is different.
All I'm going to say, though, is that Dulcich was like the number 2 option in that game for Russell Wilson. Again, it was a trap game for Wilson. I kind of thought that. But, yeah, I do like this call, though, Nate. That's the only thing that scares me, though, is Raiders have been a little bit better as of late against the tight end and just in general on defense. Matt, how do you feel about Noah Fant? Because I still value him as probably a top 12 guy coming into Sunday, especially with Thursday night playing through.
Yeah, I mean, I actually don't hate this call. There was something interesting that I was going to tweet out earlier, and I just never got around to it. But the Saints specifically have not allowed a single tight end to manage over 50 yards this season. Noah Fant currently holds the record with 49.
Interesting.
So Fant has low-key produced against better matchups than he's facing this, or worse matchups rather, than he's facing this week. So I certainly don't hate it, but I also don't hate the guy on the opposite side of the sidelines, because as Nate was saying, like with tight ends, you kind of just want an average amount of volume built into a team that concedes a ridiculous amount of points to the position naturally. And the Seahawks are the worst defense in the league at defending tight ends as far as fantasy is concerned. And Foster Moreau has been he's their starting tight end. For better or worse, his inconsistencies are obviously noted in his points per game totals. But for better or worse, he's their starting tight end after Waller's unfortunate placement on injured reserve. Foster Moreau is a legit option against Seattle this week. And because of those inconsistencies, he gets picked up against good matchups and then dropped again. So I think because people are just expecting the Raiders to get their doors blown off, that people aren't really looking at anybody on that offense other than Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs. So there's certainly some upside there. And his rostership's not above 60% yet on any platform.
Nate, you love yourself some Foster Moreau.
I do.
The issue
I kind of
with Foster
added one in
Moreau
there
is,
today.
You got to, like, you're looking for a touchdown, because last week was 3 for 33, like in a pretty decent matchup against Denver too. So I don't know. I worry a little bit. Like who would you play in a vacuum? Would you say, Matt? Would you go with Noah Fant, or would you go over with Foster Moreau in a vacuum?
I honestly think for this week, if it's just weekly matchup, I think Foster Moreau. But rest of season outlook, I like Noah Fant more.
I think in a vacuum, I think I'd probably take Fant, to be honest with you. I think he has more upside.
I'm like, Matt, I'm flipped, because I would take Fant this week, but Moreau the rest of the season.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
All right.
I don't have like a harsh disagreement with you either. I really like Noah Fant this week.
Hey, no worries, man. I love the discussion. I love getting into kind of the depth here of like the tight end 10 to 12 conversation that we'd never. I mean, who would have thought we'd be discussing Noah Fant or Foster Moreau? And it's only week 12, boys. We still have 6 weeks left. We got Brad back in the chat saying, sorry, guys, missed almost all of this due to my cruddy internet not working. Can't wait to listen back soon. Oh, that's all right, Brad. We appreciate you making the attempt for us, man. We apologize that the Australian internet isn't up to par. Hey, if we need to send a letter over there, I'm willing to write it. You willing to write a letter, Matt?
Oh, I will write a letter.
Yeah, I'll lick the postage stamp, bro.
Let's go, baby. Yeah, Australia just took a bad beating a couple days in the World Cup too. So hopefully they get things back on track.
Rubbing it in, Seth.
No, I'm just saying, like, Australia needs. No, I'm saying Brad needs, like,
right.
Brad is a premier citizen. They need to get their shit together for Brad.
I agree.
Whether it's the soccer, whether it's the internet, get your shit together, Australia. That's all I'm saying. Brad's a G. All right, guys, let's go into my sure thing sleeper of the week. Let's just like take a poll. What team, Matt? You're kind of new to the show here. What team do you think I'm going to talk about?
The Steelers are obviously going to be my first guess.
Certainly. Pennsylvania, Western PA, born and red.
Yeah.
I'm also a closet Jets fan. Well, it's not so closet anymore, is it, Nate?
No, it's not closet at all. He won't shut up about
That's true. No, that is true. I should have known.
I've been hyping the Jets all season, guys. I'm going back to the well here. Last time I suggested Michael Carter as my sure thing sleeper of the week. He had 2 touchdowns, came in valuable. I think he's back in action here, guys. Mike White is back under center. Last year, in the 4 games that Mike White saw snaps at quarterback, he averaged 18.9 PPR points, 31 targets across 4 games for Michael Carter. I'm not expecting quite that, but Chicago's been a really good matchup all season for RBs. 6 most PPR points allowed to opposing running backs season long. 14 touchdowns to opposing running back, tied for the second most. I think Carter gets in the end zone here. I think he gets a couple receptions as well. 65.6 catch rate for him, 1 drop on the season. I think he's going to make the most of his opportunity here with Mr. Michael White under center. I'm excited to fire Carter up. Honestly, I think he has some really, really good upside.
I've got an excellent stat. If you remove the thresholds for like minimum attempts, Mike White is the second, like, targets running backs, the second most of any active quarterback in the NFL, and the first most is Joe Flacco.
Let's go, baby. Yeah. I like it,
so,
man.
Yeah, it's a Michael Carter week. I 100% agree with you, actually, genuinely.
You got to fire him up here. Nate, before we get to a couple more questions to round out the show, how do you feel about it?
You know how I feel about it. I love Michael Carter. I am all about this. I tweeted earlier today, like, Michael Carter to the moon, because Mike White's a quarterback, and we know what he does with Mike White. You said it perfectly. Listen to Seth. Wait.
There we go.
Always confusing with the damn camera.
No, I'm excited for Carter, guys. Like, he's a shifty running back, and he might not be like an electric RB1 like Breece Hall was, but I think he's going to get done for you here in week 12. I'm excited to fire him up as my sure thing sleeper of the week. And before we round out the show, Matt, do you have a little bit more time to stick around and answer some more questions for us?
Oh, absolutely, man.
Awesome. Well, we greatly appreciate your presence here on this glorious Friday night. All those new to the show, I just wanted to thank you guys so much for tuning in, asking so many great questions today. If you guys are new, we are IBT Media. We bring that feel-good lifestyle advice with our fantasy sports analysis. Please subscribe to the channel. Give this video a thumbs up if you like this type of content. Here we got Purple Cat back in the chat. Purple Cat,
Great
greetings. Full PPR. Need to flex somebody. Isaiah Pacheco, Sanders, Murray, or White. Thoughts? We've already kind of talked a little bit about Rachaad White earlier. We like him a lot, Matt. Do you like him enough to start over Murray or Sanders here in week 12?
Or Pacheco, yeah, I absolutely do. I mean, I'm all in on Rachaad White everywhere. He's one of my favorite running back prospects. Just in general. And we haven't even really seen his ceiling yet, which is the fact and what got him drafted and why everybody was in love with him as an analytic, darling is he's one of the best pass catching running backs that college football has ever seen. And yeah, it was in a really short window, but nobody's ever done that in that window ever before. So it was, one of those things where I think Rachaad White without Leonard Fournette, who is doubtful with that hip pointer, is likely not going to play, who has been the only kind of threat to his receiving work. And we already saw Rachaad White in the game before Leonard Fournette got hurt, took more carries than Lenny in the first time this season. And then obviously 21 for 100 plus when Fournette went down. He can handle a full volume of rushing work. We've seen that. And he's absolutely, I believe, to still be the talented pass catcher that we always thought he was. So I would start him over all of these options for absolutely. It's Rachaad White week. Richie clean shoes.
I completely agree with you there, Matt. And like the thing with Sanders is he'd probably be the one I consider here, but he is a little TD and bust. And the Browns, we've already talked about it. Second best best matchup since week 2 for opposing running backs. So I love Rachaad White here. Nate, how do you feel about it?
Oh, everything you guys said. Rachaad White to the moon this week. Love it.
Fantastic. Well, guys, this was a fantastic show as well. Matt, can you tell us where we can find your work and how we can best support you, not just this season, but 2023 and beyond, my friend?
Yeah, you know what? Just find me on all social media at PsychWardFF. I was somehow lucky enough to get that handle absolutely everywhere. So if you like your stuff on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, TikTok coming soon, at PsychWardFF. And you can find my content right now at Broto Fantasy and probably forever at Broto Fantasy and at Dynasty Football Factory DFF.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. I want to thank everyone in the chat tonight. Wyatt saying, great show, guys. Amazing guest. Certainly. We appreciate Wyatt being on earlier as well. Matt, we appreciate you. We got Purple Cat saying, man, thank you. Guys, we appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel. Come back and hang out with us again. This was an electric show. Have a great rest of your holiday weekend. Take in week 12. Soak it in, guys. We only got a couple weeks left here of the fantasy football season. Nate, you and I, my friend, will be back here on Tuesday. So save that passion that you brought with the Justin Fields rant and bring that back for us on Tuesday, buddy.
It ain't going anywhere.
All right.
It's right here, baby. Right here.
That's where we go, guys. Appreciate it, guys. Have a great week 12 and keep it in between. Thank you.
Your destination for both some feel-good lifestyle advice and some fantasy football advice